There will be no mass ascension, okay? We are not all just gonna rise up into 5D and be living in heaven on earth. That is what I am going to be talking about in today's episode. Welcome, guys, to another episode of The Love Queendom. If you're new here, this is a space of love and joy and peace and abundance and all the good things. And here at The Love Queendom, we talk about spiritual ascension and how to create your own reality. And today we're going to be talking about how there will be no mass ascension, okay? Because this is a common misconception in the spiritual community. And I feel that a lot of the people who are preaching this, some of them are misled, but some of them are also intentionally misleading other people because, as some other people have mentioned, there are definitely, let's say, dark forces that have infiltrated, new age spirituality, if you will, and this whole 5D, ascension paradigm, let's say, right? And they're trying to trick people into believing that they don't have to do any individual work on themselves in order for them to get to 5D, that we're all just going to ascend into 5D and that's what's happening, right? Which is not the case, okay? And from my perspective, I'm just going to give some clarifications based on my perspective. So the first thing that I want to clarify once again is like what exactly 5D is, right? And 5D, like operating from a place of 5D, it doesn't mean that you are moving into like a new non-physical dimension, okay? Existing in a 5D state is just a level of perception of this reality. It is where you are living from the knowing that you are connected to everything and that this reality is an illusion, okay? It's just a realistic holographic projection, right? And that what you are experiencing in your reality is largely determined by the state of your own consciousness. You live from that knowing. That is what 5D is. And this is why people who are in 5D, they focus more on what is going on within them, right? What is the state of their own consciousness? If they're seeing something in their physical reality that they don't like, or that they want to change, they're not running around trying to figure out how do I, change this in the physical. They're not sitting down strategizing what to do from a physical standpoint. They are going to look within themselves and figure out, what is it about my energy? What is it about the state of my consciousness? Okay, how I'm thinking and feeling that is producing this external result in my physical reality. Okay, that is what 5D is. And in order for you to live from that level of perception of reality, you have to have gone through like an initiation process, fully all the way, right? And that initiation requires you to face yourself in the deepest, darkest way possible. This is why many people who fully ascend into 5D have had to heal their traumas. They've had to face their deepest fears, and they've really had to do a lot of inner work on themselves, right? And take full responsibility for the reality that they are creating. And they're fully aware that all of the negative circumstances that have happened to them in their life up until the point of their awakening was as a result of the fact that something within them was allowing them to be an energetic match for those circumstances. Whether they like that knowing or not, they accept it, right? And the acceptance of that knowing and that understanding is what then gives them the power to change and the power to never have to suffer again, because now I know I'm the one in control here. So now I'm figuring out, how do I control my consciousness? so that I'm never in a state of fear or panic or worry, right? And if I do find myself drifting into those states, I know how to shift myself back into my center. This is what living in 5D looks like. So absolutely not everyone is going to get there, okay? That is number one. And number two, what I'll say is that it doesn't actually matter whether you get to this 5D state or not, because again, from my perspective, even though Earth is moving into 5D, all that means is that 5D beings are allowed to incarnate here and will be allowed to exist, just like the 3D people, right? So 3D people are absolutely still going to exist, even in 5D New Earth, okay? It's just that more than likely, the people who truly are ascended masters, who fully are living from 5D, those people will become the leaders of New Earth because they will have the level of consciousness to project out, the New Earth reality that other people can live in. So the people who are still living from lower levels of consciousness, they can still be part of it. And that is just going to be based on what they choose to align themselves to in their heart, okay? They may not necessarily be, like I said, fully aware of consciously creating their reality. But if you have a pure heart, you can be in alignment with a higher vibrational reality. That's just how it goes, right? From the metaphysical perspective of things. So I think what we'll see is gradations of levels of consciousness on Earth. Some people will be 3D still, some people will be 4D, which is kind of transitionary, right? A lot of people who talk about this 5D New Earth stuff, they're not actually 5D, right? They're more like 4D, and that is because they have the knowing and the understanding that this is a thing and this is happening. Their minds are open to it, and they have a lot of knowledge about it. But that doesn't necessarily mean they are actually living from that knowledge, right? That they are actually having an embodied experience of that knowledge. That's a totally different thing. And that is what true 5D is. So I think there will be a lot of 4D people, and people who they know and understand from a principle perspective how this stuff goes, but they're not fully controlling their reality, let's say, from a non-physical perspective. And I believe that many of the people who are kind of leaders in this kind of New Earth spiritual movement and stuff like that, the people who have pure hearts that are trying to help people genuinely, many of them are actually 4D, right? Even if they think that they're, 5D or whatever, I do feel many of them are kind of having a fourth dimensional perspective and understanding of how this stuff works. And the reason why I say that is because a lot of these people, when you hear them talk, they'll still sort of speak from a perspective of separation, physical separation, right? And so if your perception of reality still has some level of separation in it, for me, that is not a 5D perspective. A 5D perspective is fully understanding that everything is energetically interconnected and you can shift things around through your own consciousness, right? And because you're living from that knowing, again, whether you're seeing things in your reality that you like or that you don't like, you understand what you need to do within yourself in order to shift that, right? So this is what living from a 5D level of consciousness is. And a lot of people will say that, other people have free will, you can't manipulate other people, blah, 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 right? And that is true from a physical standpoint. But when we're talking non-physical, because everything is interconnected energetically, you can shift circumstances around by shifting your own energy. And then that will project out into the physical, your intention, your inner intention, right? And you becoming vibrationally aligned to whatever reality that you're trying to create can shift around circumstances in the physical. But people who are 4D or 3D may not have a full belief in that because, again, they're not fully living from that level of awareness, right? So this is kind of what I think. And also, like I said, there's not going to be a mass ascension where everybody is just going to be miraculously saved and we're all going to be living in this heaven on earth utopia. Because at the end of the day, whatever the state of your consciousness is, whatever frequency that you're vibrating at, that's what you're going to be a match for. And so I do feel that there will be many people who are tricked into thinking that they're ascending and going somewhere when they're not going anywhere. And they may even be, consumed by dark forces because they continue to believe in things outside of themselves rather than stepping into their own power and claiming their own spiritual sovereignty and control over their own realities. I do feel that will happen. But I also feel that the people who are genuinely tricked into maybe taking a path that was detrimental to them, there will obviously be a path of salvation for those people because they didn't know any better. And it wasn't their fault, right? Whereas I think the people who have enough awareness to know what they need to do for themselves in order to quote unquote save themselves, I think those people are the ones who really have to be careful. Because again, even if you're not fully 5D where you're completely controlling your reality, like how this game works, whether or not you are able to kind of ascend into the new earth frequencies is kind of based on the weight of your heart and what you're choosing to align yourself to when you're confronted with hard choices. So, for example, during the Great Sickness, that happened on Earth recently, we were all faced with pressures of getting the V, right? And as somebody who is very strong and stable and centered within myself and who understands how to project my energy out to kind of not be affected by things, I was able to reject the V, but still have complete and total freedom and autonomy in my reality. Okay, so I'm the only person that I know. Actually, that's not true. I do have some other friends who did this as well, but I'm one of the few people I know who didn't take the V and who had a job that said you required it. I was able to travel throughout the whole sickness without any kind of complications or anything like that, right? And that is because I chose, this is not going to affect me. This has nothing to do with me. I don't want to get this because this does not align with my personal value system. My spirit is telling me no, so I reject it and I continue living in my reality the way that I want to. But a lot of people cowered to the fear, right? Even when they knew morally that it was not right for them to take it. And it's not even because anything bad would have happened to them. It's just if you're betraying your inner guidance because of fear, that is not aligning yourself to the frequency of New Earth. Okay, so those kind of behaviors is what can get people left behind because your choices is what determines what direction that you go in your life, right? So this kind of being able to stand firm in the face of fear, in the face of evil pressures against you, and staying in alignment with what feels right in your heart, that is really what is going to determine, what is going to draw the line between who goes up and who goes down. So this is not me trying to sound, doomsday or anything like that, but I'm just saying that as we're going through events happening on Earth, as we're going through life, it's just for people to be mindful of the choices that they're making, not cowering to the fear that will be projected at you from, the lower Earth rulers so that you don't get caught up in their reality. if you don't want to be part of their reality. And you have to make that choice for yourself. And this is where, strengthening yourself energetically becomes very important. And that is also why I heavily promote my Ascension program, because it fills you up with love and puts you into a higher frequency where it's harder for you to get caught up in those things, because energetically you're just no longer a match for it. But the truth is, even with my Ascension program, you're not going to be able to get the full benefits of it unless you're ready to really face yourself and face all the negative shit that's going to come up within you once you start listening to the program, because it's going to purge out all of the stuff that's been harboring in your consciousness, keeping you in a low vibration. And you have to be prepared to go through that death and rebirth process. So in conclusion, like I said, there will be no mass ascension, okay? The people who ascend into New Earth, who move into 5D, those are going to be the people who have the courage to die and be born again, ascend themselves, work on their energy, work on their frequency, shift the state of their consciousness so that they can align themselves with New Earth. And also the people who, make the choice to stay centered in their heart, even in the face of fear. So that's what I wanted to share with you guys today. Let me know if you have any questions, comments, perspectives. I always love to hear what other people think and have a conversation, right? I like to say, I am teaching, learning, teaching, as per the law of one. So let me know what you guys think, and I will see you in the next episode.